Hi guys, Maximus here again, and today I'm going to show you guys a new spin on the Esper PvE DPS build, and this one's going to be a melee spec. So, Espers have a pretty decent range spec, and this is basically the hybrid version of that. This is the melee spec. So, this is going to be a little bit more risky because you're in cloth armor, but you have a nice amount of lifesteal and a really good amount of PvE damage to go with this build. So as opposed to dealing dot damage and stuff dying kind of slowly, or having to line stuff up, very accurately with Mind Blast, you can basically just run through stuff, whacking it with your blades, and then casting your Blade Dance here, and casting this major area effect Telegraph, and just destroying basically everything that's all around you, picking up your loot, carrying on. And this build is also has a bit more mobility and has a bit more speed with it, because casting Blade Dance when you spec it up actually grants extra movement speed as well, 20% movement speed while you're channeling it. So this is how I've got my skill spec set up here. Just tier 1 for Psychic Frenzy, just so we can get our side points. And then Blade Dance all the way up to tier 8, so we get the armor penetration and swiftness when we cast, and the last tick will actually deal additional damage as well. Spectral Swarm for an instant side point and for dot damage, and this will, you can go with this in a couple of ways. You can either keep this spec'd up, Spectral Swarm, to tier 8 for an insta-cast spell that's going to deal dot damage and return life unmitigated. I prefer this being spec'd up, or you could drop this down to tier 4 or even tier 1, and you could spec up your Psychic Frenzy to deal more damage as well and grant side points faster. So depending on how you do with that, if you do spec up Psychic Frenzy, you'll notice at tier 4 it gives you 25% lifesteal with this attack. So using lifesteal with this attack, and then having some lifesteal as well, if you have tier 4 of this and tier 4 of this, you've got lifesteal on both of your abilities. So you can split the points that way if you want lots of lifesteal, or you could stack them any, which way, tier 8 to get more damage to one ability or the other. Now, with this Illusionary Blades, casting this is going to increase the damage of your Psychic Frenzy and your Blade Dance. So, and it shows you how much damage it will increase for each Illusionary Blade that you add. Casting this is 1 second cast, and it takes a side point. Now, this is really better for longer fights and for stronger targets, because most stuff you should be able to get through with just a simple rotation of a few casts of Psychic Frenzy, Spectral Swarm, a couple of concentrated blades, hit him with a Reap, hit him with a Haunt, full of side points, and then hit him with a Blade Dance, and they should be dead by then. Or dying. But if you do need some extra damage, using Illusionary Blades is a very good way to add extra damage onto your attacks here. And more damage will also give you higher lifesteal. Right on. Now, I like to keep mind over body. I like to keep a basic heal on my bar almost all times for, assault farming specs, because occasionally I like to get crazy and pull lots of stuff, or fight something really, really strong. Occasionally I make a mistake and I need to heal myself. But with this spec you have a lot of lifesteal, so you might find that this ability here just doesn't get used a lot, and you could replace this with a knockdown or an interrupt. So you could use this, we can go with Crush, or something else that you might want here, to another utility ability if you find you're not using your basic heal or you just don't want it, but I like having it on there. So I'll quickly here, and then the other skills, we have Concentrated Blade. This will build side points, this will build side points, Haunt builds side points as well. And these all deal massive damage, and I've got Haunt spec'd up to tier 8. And Blade Dance is spec'd at tier 8, Spectral Form's at tier 8 for me. Everything else is all at tier 1. And now with the amp abilities here, in the Assault tree, we've got basically everything here in Assault, all the way point up with Armor Penetration, 2 points for Strike Through. And then we've got all of these tier 2 assault abilities. All of them are good. They're all true damage basically. They don't really have conditional things that have long cooldowns. And then here we've got while about 70 health, damaging a foe has 20% chance to manifest Figment and deal extra dot damage. So we've got that, and we need this one for Spectral Swarm to unlock that ability on our assault action bar. And you won't need this one, because this one here will just landing an assault finisher will give you cooldown, but you don't need cooldown because Blade Dance doesn't actually have a cooldown. As long as you have side points, you can cast Blade Dance. There's no cooldown on it, so you won't need that point. So then we're going to spec this up, critical hit all the way, critical hit severity all the way here. Pain, no pain. I like this one a lot. Taking damage has a 10% chance to generate side points. So as you're getting beat on, every time you get hit, you have a 10% chance to generate a side point. This is a very helpful amp ability, I find. And then this one here, not snack worthy. Activating your Spectral Swarm will give you an extra increase of your assault and sword power for damage and healing. And then I find this one helps out. You always want to have the cooldown, 15% more cooldown on your abilities, and mental overflow. So what this will do is act as like a storage reserve for side points, allowing you to store up to 2 additional side points above 5, so that when you cast a 5 side point finisher, you'll have 2 side points left instead of going back down to 0, and you can start building up side points from 2, and it's very easy to get back up to 3, so you have instacast on your Reap, and then you can get back up to 4 with Hunt, and then it's very fast that way. So this is like a side point storage reserve, mental overflow, and it's very good to have. So now we've gone over the amps, we've gone over the skills basically, and now this is basically how the rotation is going to go. We're going to go in with some of this. You can start casting this, basically you can keep this and start spamming this the whole way down, and then throw out your Spectral Swarm for a free point, and then Haunt, Reap, and Blade Dance. You've got 2 concentrated blades, but they're on a delayed timer for how long until they grant you your actual side points. But with this build here, you'll see, because I'm getting nice and close with these points and generating them really fast too, and then Blade Dance just mows them down, and you get movement speed from using the Blade Dance, which is really nice. So it gives you more speed with this build, so you can get up and actually run them down. So while you're casting it, even in PvP, if your target is running away, you've got movement speed, right, to actually gain on them so that they can't run away. So I'll start a challenge here, and I'll start running through clearing this camp, giving you guys a basic rundown of how this works with the rotation. So for most of this stuff, for most of these trash mobs, I'm not going to need Illusionary Blades, because it should basically just be a 1, building up to 5 side points, and then casting Blade Dance should be enough to kill most of these trash mobs. But if you guys are finding that these guys aren't going down right away, then yeah, you could always go with like a couple casts of that, get some side points. You need side points to cast Illusionary Blades, and it takes a 1 second, but then we get a lot of extra damage on our Blade Dance and our Psychic Frenzy here. But you have to keep casting Illusionary Blades in order to keep that damage buff up. You see, once I cast it, here the illusion is removed every 1 second after 8 seconds. So you have 8 seconds after casting it of increased damage, but you can cast it again, and you can stack it up to 5 extra stacks of illusionary swords there. So, but it requires side points, and it requires rotating that through your rotation and not running out of side points, so that you can keep those stacks up. But you're basically just trying to squeeze one of those illusionary side blades out every 5 or 6 seconds, every 2 or 3 spell casts, so that it doesn't drop down, and you can keep your damage buff. And of course, activating your Spectral Swarm will give you a nice boost of damage, and it will give you nice side point generation, and you can really get these Blade Dances out very fast. And look how big that telegraph is. And it mows stuff down very fast. It's a lot better, I'd say, of an area effect, direct damage spell. And if only it wasn't really a melee thing, this would probably be a lot more effective for farming as well. I mean, this build I find is probably a bit more effective, for some people than for others. I prefer the range spec myself. But this build does have its merit, absolutely. Your obvious disadvantage is that you're in cloth armor and you're basically face tanking stuff almost like a warrior, but you've got a lot of damage and you have a lot of life steal. So even though you're in cloth armor, and you've got basic heals as well, so even though you're in cloth armor, you're still quite tanky. And you can deal a lot of damage with a lot of life steal and face tank, you know, just about anything with this type of a build. Okay, I hope you guys like it. Alright, share it around with your friends, and I'll get more videos coming out for you guys soon. I hope you all liked the video. If you did, please click this button here to subscribe to my channel, and check out my Wildstar playlist for more great videos.